The world today is looking for something that it can attach to, which is green. The entire world is kind of changing in the way in which climate and environment around us has been polluted and has degraded in terms of quality. In that respect, it is very important to turn and look out for new and fresh sources of energy in order to save our Mother Earth. I welcome you all to another video by Legacy IAS where we are going to talk about green hydrogen. The entire discussion, which has gained a lot of attention across the globe and over the years, in the last couple of years, particularly in India as well, and the initiatives which have been taken in India, all moving in the direction of trying to save and trying to restore the energy by using and turning to cleaner sources of energy. In this regard, in this particular video, we're going to have a detailed discussion in this particular topic. So firstly, need to understand that why are we even talking about the need for this particular green hydrogen. So if we look at the IEA, which is the International Energy Agency, okay, they made a prediction in 2019 that if you look at global energy demand, now the demand for global energy is going to increase by 25 to 30% by 2040. And a large part of our current usage of this energy comes from sources like coal and oil. And if we constantly use greater amount of coal and oil, we are going to further increase the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases which are there into the atmosphere, further exacerbating the entire problem of climate change. It is not going to reduce. In fact, it is going to increase further. So it is this continuous need for energy which is really looking at or creating the need for such resources. In fact, if you look at India also, the third largest energy consuming country in the world. So we have definitely need to kind of look at this particular issue in a much more different dimension. This particular need is only going to increase with time. So it's high time that we also start looking it in this direction. It is very important at this particular stage that we make our energy much more accessible, efficient, but also equally sustainable so that we leave something behind for our future generations to come. Now, firstly, let us try and understand that why are we shifting this particular need? Why is this need directing us to the need for using hydrogen as a source? So hydrogen is actually the most abundant chemical element which is basically found in nature. In fact, green energy is basically the clean source of energy that only emits water vapor. It does not leave any residue in the air. Unlike what coal or oil would leave, it does not leave behind any particular residue of like coal or oil. So this particular gas has often been used to kind of ignite and fuel our cars, also the other automotive and transport systems like airships and spaceships. And this is not from now, this has begun from the 19th century itself. So it's an age-old thing which we have been continuing. In fact, by PwC, an assessment was made whereby green hydrogen demand is basically going to increase almost to 100 million tons and reach from 100 million tons to almost 2600 million tons by 2050. All right. So there is a great global demand for this kind of green hydrogen because of its uses. It's enormous. So what is this green hydrogen all about? Now this is a technology that is basically based on the generation of hydrogen, all right, which is a light and a heavy reactive fuel through the chemical process of electrolysis. We are trying to generate this hydrogen, whereby this particular process is done by splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen molecules through this chemical process of electrolysis using electricity. And this particular electricity is also something which is generated by renewable sources of energy like solar energy or wind power energy. So the usage, the means of achieving this kind of energy is also renewable, and what we're getting out of it is not leaving behind any traces like you see in the case of coal or oil. So if this electricity is obtained from renewable sources, all right, we will be able to produce energy without adding to the amount of carbon dioxide that is there in the atmosphere, which will be a major achievement for all of us. Now, if we look at the historical background of the usage of energy, this particular process started in 1874 when hydrogen was produced from water as a potential source of energy. So this is something that was envisioned in 1874. Iceland is a nation which has abundant amount of geothermal energies, and a lot of studies has worked out on trying to create a hydrogen economy for its own country as well as for the world. Hydrogen was basically used as a key fuel in rocket and space industries, as a basic component of oil, natural gas, all right, as a feedstock for the fertilizer industry as well, also in steel, cement like industries. So there have been many usages of hydrogen so far, where we've used it in several industries, and we have been further working on it, trying to reduce its entire cost. The benefits of green hydrogen are actually a lot, which kind of force us to think in this particular direction. Now, if we are looking at production costs falling by 50% by 2030, as the World Hydrogen Council has actually predicted for it, it has a great potential for becoming one of the fuels for the future. Why? Because it's 100% sustainable. It does not produce any polluting gases. It does not emit any polluting gases either during the process of combustion or during production. At no stage basically you have emission of polluting gases. Moreover, it's very easy to store. All right, so that is why it can be used for multiple purposes at multiple times. So the storage kind of increase its value, and also it's extremely versatile. It can be transformed into electricity, into synthetic gas, used for several other commercial or industrial purposes. So the usages also are enormous. Some of the use cases of green hydrogen are in the area of electricity and drinking water generator, whereby the two elements which are obtained by reacting of hydrogen and oxygen together in a fuel cell, and this particular process of doing it together in a fuel cell has been useful for several space missions, all right, particularly providing water and electricity in a much more sustainable manner. Now, as far as energy storage is concerned, compressed hydrogen tanks are basically extremely capable of storing energy for a longer period of times, and are also much easier to handle these batteries, which become much lighter through their usage. We also see in the area of transport and mobility that its versatility is actually a lot, because of which it is allowing to be used in combustion niches, otherwise which would have been very difficult to decarbonize, particularly when we speak of the heavy transport, the aviation and the maritime transport. So in terms of the areas which are very difficult to kind of make them green and pollution free, it can be used in these transports like aviation and maritime. But of course, there are several challenges in the journey that we are encountering, particularly that is pertaining to the high amount of costs that are involved. So now, from the energy which is obtained from the renewable sources, which are possibly which are capable of producing this green hydrogen through electrolysis, this particular process is extremely expensive and it takes a lot more time. In India, of course, the cost is actually almost rupees 500 per kg, which is a lot when we're talking of a large sum. The high energy consumption that is used in creating this entire process is also something that is worrisome. We really have to think about it. Also, there are several safety concerns, because this particular chemical is volatile and also flammable. So there are several important safety measures which are needed for its usage in order to prevent any kind of leakage or explosions in this regard. So, but of course, the benefits of it are several, and if we try to reduce its cost, we will be able to maximize it. So, looking at the potential of it, there have been several initiatives which have been brought in by the Government of India in this regard, particularly the ambitious hydrogen mission, which was launched in August 2021 by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. The Indian government basically announced the green hydrogen policy in February 2022 in lieu of this hydrogen mission. So this policy is basically meant to attain or reach the decarbonization goals towards net zero emissions by 2050, which is trying to keep up our UN climate targets, where we're trying to reduce the Earth's temperature to 1.5 degrees centigrade, as was pledged by India and several other countries at the Conference of Party 26 meeting in Glasgow back in November 2021. So we're trying to have a policy which will benefit both the industry leaders, so that they will also be interested in trying to set up hydrogen plants and develop its own value chain in this regard. There have been several companies who have been working in this direction, and they've been very happy in the way in which Government of India is taking these initiatives. So according to the industry body for Hydrogen Alliance, India is looking at an investment of 25 billion US dollars from public as well as private sectors in order to create this hydrogen supply chain. All right, so we are able to meet our targets. So India has also decided to export this green energy from 2025. All right, with the first shipments we are sending to a power plant in Singapore after an MOU which has been signed between the Singapore's energy business and Indian companies. So they go to say that this is the first time that we're making the lowest cost carbon free energy, which means that this energy is going to be of high quality. So this is the company Greenco's green ammonia is the one which will basically help reduce India's exports of about 6 million tons of ammonia as well as urea. We're really looking at a big kind of event in the future with this kind of development. There are also several upcoming projects which have been planned in this direction. Setting up of solar hydrogen refueling stations at 2 locations which are also in use, and tourist sites like Delhi, Agra, Gujarat in the state of Statue of Unity, etc. Also, one pilot for setting up this particular plant to explore the opportunity of how we can replace conventional hydrogen in refineries with green hydrogen. So trying to replace the existing technologies and upgrade it further. So one for the production of green hydrogen and its blending with CNG at an appropriate site in Rajasthan, so that we can use it and dispense it at several retail outlets. Also, the green hydrogen infrastructure and pipeline injection green hydrogen in city gas distribution network. So there are actually several such initiatives, several such projects which are planned in the direction whereby we're trying to utilize this green hydrogen. So all of you sitting out there, you might just be able to use this particular technology in few years. I hope in this regard you found this particular discussion extremely informative. Let me know by liking that button. Share it with those who are still not aware as to where our future is going ahead, and subscribe for more such videos by Legacy IAS.